Transforming your financial life through biblical teachings. Napoleon Hill. There is no greater treasure than the one that resides in the mind of an awakened man. And no force is more powerful than the faith that is planted when the promises of the Word meet the courage to act. If today your financial life feels like a barren desert, understand this. The gold you seek is not outside. It has always been hidden within you. What you lack is not money. What you lack is clarity, conviction, discipline, and a heart open to hear the whispers that, for millennia, have been left as maps on pages that survived empires, wars, kings, and tyrants. Solomon, the richest and wisest man who ever walked this earth, did not begin with countless treasures. He began with a prayer, a request, not for gold, not for silver, but for wisdom. He understood that gold is merely the visible echo of a mind attuned to abundance. And so it must be with you. While the world screams scarcity, the Word whispers, "He who seeks, finds." But it's not just any search. It's an intimate excavation, silent, almost brutal. It's about opening the heart, cleansing the wounds, letting go of beliefs as old as rags, and deciding never to live in the same condition again. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. This ancient law, recorded in Proverbs, could very well be engraved at the entrance of any of today's billion-dollar corporations. Henry Ford knew this when he said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." This is where the Bible and modernity converge. No technology, artificial intelligence, or global market can break this truth. Your financial life is the exact mirror of your internal conviction. While others get lost in debt, comparison, and envy, those who choose to follow the ancient map realize that wealth is a daily construction, first invisible, then tangible. The promised land doesn't come ready-made. It becomes fertile when you plant. That's why many have talent but live in lack. That's why many pray for prosperity but never reap it. Because prayer without discipline is like a seed thrown on stone. The first key to transforming your financial life is understanding that everything is a seed. Words are seeds. Thoughts are seeds. Actions are seeds. And the harvest never fails. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. If you sow fear, you will reap scarcity. If you sow faith and disciplined work, you will reap multiplication." Think of the great empires. Walt Disney, bankrupt and rejected dozens of times, yet holding firmly to a dream no one else could see. Andrew Carnegie, a penniless immigrant who became the richest man of his time. Thomas Edison, thousands of failed attempts for a single light bulb to shine. All of them, without exception, understood a principle that could have come straight from the Gospels. Faith without works is dead. Wanting is not enough. You must act, even when everything seems against you. Do you want to transform your financial life? Then burn the bridges that lead you to excuses. Let go of victimhood. Solomon didn't ask for wealth. He asked for understanding. And understanding means action. It means looking at your spending, stopping the pretense that things will change on their own, and being brutally honest about where every penny is slipping through your fingers. The tithe, so often debated, is just one of the keys. It's not a magical token. It's a reminder of who you are, a steward. Nothing belongs to you. Everything is entrusted to you. Those who understand this don't keep their hands closed. Generosity is embodied trust. Those who give show the universe they're not afraid of lacking. And those who do not fear lack make room for the infinite flow of provision. Look at the miracle of multiplication. 5 loaves and 2 fish feeding thousands. It's not a fable, it's a law. The little you have, when offered with faith and purpose, multiplies in a way that logic cannot contain. But true faith is not passive. It is aggressive. It is courage. It is looking at an empty bank account and deciding, I will not die here. It's rising before the sun, studying what no one else studies, learning to invest, negotiate, save, grow. Many complain they weren't born into wealth, that no one helped them. They forget they possess something more valuable than an inheritance: time, mind, breath. That is enough. Joseph, sold as a slave, became governor of Egypt. Why? Because he understood it doesn't matter where you're placed. It matters who you choose to be in that place. While others drown in complaints, the man who carries the seed of understanding transforms a prison into a throne. Wealth doesn't begin at the bank. It begins in the soil of the mind. And that soil must be tilled daily. There is no harvest without care. There is no fortune without discipline. Do you want more? Then stop seeking shortcuts. The Bible is clear. The lazy man desires and gets nothing, but the diligent prosper. There is no negotiation with this principle. You can have the best contacts, the best courses, the most impressive resume, but if you don't cultivate the discipline of a farmer, weeds will overtake everything. This means learning to say no. Saying no to waste, to unconscious spending, to empty invitations. It means learning to invest before spending. It means learning to wait. Patience is the secret weapon of the wise. David was anointed king while still a shepherd. He didn't force the crown. He waited, acted, fought, fled when necessary, but never lost the conviction that what God promised, he would fulfill. Your problem is not lack of opportunity. It's lack of patience and focus. Impulsiveness is a modern poison that destroys fortunes before they are even born. The Bible says, there is a time for everything, and there is a time to plant and a time to harvest. While many give up because they don't see immediate returns, the man who understands the law of sowing works in silence, tends the soil, protects the seeds from the plague of doubt. He knows that the same God who placed the stars in the sky is the God who never fails to multiply the little when there is faith accompanied by action. And if today you look at your wallet and see little, look again. See your fertile field. Treat every coin as a living seed. Decide that every expense will have a purpose, that every cent that leaves will return multiplied because you planted where you should, because you didn't spend on impulse, but with direction. The Bible is not a book of dead stories. It is a manual of living principles. Those who read it only as religion lose. Those who read it as a life strategy win. It's no coincidence that billionaire entrepreneurs find in Proverbs and Psalms the keys for massive decisions. They know there is wisdom there that never ages. Now close your eyes for a moment. See the financial life you desire, not as fantasy, but as a harvest already sprouting. Promise yourself that you will never again let faith die, choked by laziness or fear. Open your mind, sharpen your discipline, protect your field from weeds. Everything you need is already inside you. The rest, the universe aligns. Open your mind to the possibility that God is not against wealth. He is against slavery. And many are slaves to money, even when they have very little. Attachment suffocates, fear paralyzes, ignorance destroys. That's why Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you." This is not an invitation to live passively, waiting for coins to fall from the sky. It is a command to align your heart with eternal principles, and then work, plan, expand, and multiply. Look at the eagles. They do not fear the storm, they fly higher. While most hide from adversity, the one who understands the principles of the word uses the opposing wind as momentum. Crisis is not the end. It is the beginning for those who choose to grow. How many fortunes were built when the world was screaming recession? How many disruptive ideas were born in the middle of scarcity? Because what separates the rich from the poor is not the number in the bank account. It's what they do when everything seems impossible. Joseph, in prison, interpreted dreams. He didn't stand still. He didn't give up. He delivered value, even when there was no immediate payment. And so, from slave, he became governor. It's always like this. Those who sow service reap honor. Those who sow excellence reap influence. And influence is the new currency of modern times. The Bible already said, "Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings." It's not about flattering bosses. It's about becoming so necessary that doors open by themselves. Today, many pray for an open door, but they don't have the courage to build the key. They prefer to pray for easy money rather than dig deep wells. They would rather complain about their boss than become indispensable. And so, they live on the edge of mediocrity, repeating cycles, blaming the government, the family, bad luck. Meanwhile, the wise understand, I am responsible. Everything I have is a reflection of what I do, think, and allow. Look at the miracle of Nehemiah, a cupbearer, servant of a foreign king, who rebuilt fallen walls. Nehemiah wasn't an architect. He wasn't an engineer. But he was driven by a vision so clear that no one could stop him. He asked for resources, protection, letters of authority. He didn't sit around waiting. He planned, wrote, negotiated, worked day and night. And when enemies tried to intimidate him, he replied, I am doing a great work and cannot come down. That's how you build a financially unshakable life. Brick by brick, facing voices that say you can't, ignoring sabotaging thoughts, rebuilding where there were only ruins. Your vision must be stronger than your fear. And the Bible is full of warnings. Where there is no vision, the people perish. That's why many work hard but never prosper. They have no destination. Money without purpose gets lost. Gains without direction evaporate. But a clear vision, written, declared, visualized, turns each coin into a soldier, each cent into a seed. That's when your paycheck stops being a limit and becomes a starting point. Walt Disney was called crazy because he drew castles in his mind when all he had in his pockets was debt. But he saw. He carried within him a park no one else could see. And while they laughed, he planned. While the bank said no, he found another way. He did not bow before lack. And today, his legacy earns billions every year, even decades after his death. That is the power of a vision that doesn't surrender. You don't need to invent the next Disney, but you do need to decide what your castle is. You need to write down goals, dreams, clear objectives. You must understand where every penny goes. You need to learn to master your impulses. Because money is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. Those who don't govern what they earn end up enslaved by what they owe. And don't be mistaken, the principles in the Bible don't change just because the world is now digital. If we live in an age of speed, showmanship, and instant gratification, we need even more to return to the roots: work, patience, generosity, purpose. These are shields against unnecessary debt, empty consumerism, and the emotional void that tries to be filled with one-click purchases. Here's how real multiplication works. When you invest in yourself before spending on the unnecessary. When knowledge is more valuable than temporary luxury. When you study, test, fail, adjust, and start over. And suddenly, what was a minimum wage becomes a business. What was a side hustle becomes a company. What was fear of investing becomes passive income. But none of this grows where there is no discipline. Discipline is the secret altar where the impossible becomes inevitable. And here, the Bible is uncompromising. He who is faithful with little will also be faithful with much. It's not about winning the lottery. It's about becoming worthy of being entrusted with more. If you waste everything today, don't expect to receive more tomorrow. If you squander what you have, don't blame God for what you lack. He has already given you the tools. The rest is your part. Remember Abraham. He left his homeland without knowing where he was going, holding only a promise. But every step was a yes. Every sacrifice was a key. And so, he became the father of nations. Whoever wants wealth but refuses to leave their comfort zone has understood nothing. There will always be a leave your land. There will always be a offer what you love most. Because prosperity is not just what you receive, it's what you are willing to give. And those who understand this begin to see money as a river. It comes in, it goes out, it irrigates, it fertilizes. But it never stagnates. Stagnation rots. Circulation purifies. That's why giving is more powerful than hoarding. Whoever sows, reaps. Whoever blesses, receives. It is a spiritual law, but also a practical one. Generosity creates connections. Connections create opportunities. And opportunities change destinies. So observe, the more you sow, the more returns. But sow with wisdom. Sow knowledge, time, resources in fertile soil. Don't waste it on those who only drain your energy. Be selective, discern, and stay firm like Nehemiah, like Joseph, like David. The rest will come, because the word never returns void. When you understand that money is just a consequence, something inside you is set free. You stop chasing bills like a dog after crumbs and begin building a life that attracts resources like a magnet. Because wealth is not a reward, it's a reflection. The reflection of your vision, your discipline, your willingness to serve, to learn, and to start over when everything falls apart. Look at the trees planted by the rivers. Their roots are invisible, but that's where their strength lies. While many are impressed by the branches and leaves, the wise care for what cannot be seen. That's how your financial life is. There's no point in flaunting cars, clothes, appearances, if your roots are shallow, fragile, poorly nourished. When the wind comes, everything collapses. A crisis, a sudden setback, an unexpected debt, and the whole castle crumbles like sand. But those who cultivate strong roots, knowledge, purpose, patience, practical faith, are not afraid of seasons. Drought may come, storms may come, unstable economy, inflation, unemployment. They remain because their confidence is not based on the instability of the market, but on the firmness of eternal principles. That's why the Bible compares the righteous to trees planted by rivers of water. It yields its fruit in season, and its leaf does not wither, and whatever they do prospers. Do you want to prosper? Then stop fearing the right time. There is no instant success that lasts. There's seed, cultivation, waiting, and harvest. There is process. There is resistance. There is sacrifice. It's in that process that the weak give up, but the determined ones bloom. Think of Thomas Edison. It took thousands of attempts for one light bulb to turn on. Each failure was a root. Each fall strengthened the trunk. If he had quit at the 20th mistake, we'd still be in the dark. But he persisted because he saw the invisible. You must also see the invisible. Look at your empty hands and recognize the possibilities heaven has already placed within you. Use what you have. Moses had a staff. David had a sling. Joseph had a gift for interpreting dreams. None of them started with everything, but all of them started with what they had. And that was multiplied. Multiplication is the law for those who take action. Those who bury talent lose it. Jesus told the parable of the talents to teach exactly that. The servant who hid what he received was called wicked and lazy. Why? Because fear is the greatest thief of wealth. While you're afraid of losing, you stop multiplying. While pretending you have nothing to offer, you bury gifts that could open doors. Fear turns you into a useless servant, a slave to lack. So today, look within. What are you burying? What talent is hidden because you think it's not enough? What idea is locked away because courage is missing? Open that drawer. Break that coffin. Unbury the gift. Do whatever it takes with what's already in your hands. Because when God sees movement, He sends resources. He opens paths. He connects people. He makes the improbable happen. But He does nothing for the idle. Remember Noah. It had never rained. Yet he built an ark during a dry season. People mocked him, called him crazy. But while they laughed, he hammered. While they mocked, he obeyed. And when the rain came, no one could buy a last-minute ticket. The price of procrastination is always higher than the cost of preparation. And don't be fooled. Your financial life is exactly that, an ark you build before the storm. It's invisible insurance. It's a project that protects your family, secures your future, and sustains your mission. While fools spend everything now, you build something that will withstand the rain. You don't work just for a salary. You work for legacy. Legacy is the word that separates the rich from the wealthy. The wealthy accumulate for themselves. The truly rich leave a paved road for others. A father who teaches his children to invest instead of consume. A mother who shows discipline instead of hidden debt. A young person who chooses to learn instead of show off. These small decisions are the bricks of a silent empire. And the Bible is crystal clear about it. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. This is not only about money. It's about mindset. It's about habits that become culture. It's about breaking cycles of poverty, debt, and lack that repeat through generations. When you change, everything changes. When you decide to sow where no one sows, you'll reap where no one reaps. But be prepared. Being different bothers people. Prosperity bothers people. Having discipline when everyone else wastes bothers people. Living below your means bothers people. You will be questioned, judged, even attacked. But resist. Silent success is always followed by loud mockery. David was mocked before defeating Goliath. Nehemiah was mocked while rebuilding walls. Jesus was humiliated, spat on, crucified, but the resurrection silenced every mocker. Your silence today is your strength for tomorrow. While they laugh, you sow. While they spend, you save. While they sleep, you study. While they complain, you work. And when harvest time comes, there will be no argument against the result. And don't forget, gratitude is the glue that holds all of this together. Gratitude is the invisible shield that protects your heart from greed. Because wealth without gratitude becomes a prison. But wealth with gratitude becomes a river, overflowing, blessing, multiplying. Paul wrote, "Give thanks in everything." Not just when things are going well, in everything. In difficulty, in waiting, in small victories, in great triumphs. Gratitude shapes your mind to see what others ignore. While many see crisis, the grateful see opportunity. While many see loss, the grateful see a lesson. While many see an obstacle, the grateful see training. In this way, your financial life becomes a solid rock, impossible to be shaken by passing winds. Gratitude is not passivity, it's fuel. It's the act of looking at the little as if it were already much, because you know it's a living seed. And those who treat the little with respect are worthy of receiving much. That's why the Bible challenges us. Be faithful in the little. It's not a cute phrase to embroider on a pillow. It's an expansion strategy. If today you poorly manage 100 reais, don't expect to manage 100,000. The universe doesn't waste resources where there is no preparation. So examine every reel that comes into your hands. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my vision or take me away from it? If the answer is no, cut it without regret. Learn to say no to emotional purchases, to purposeless spending, to a bloated lifestyle just to impress those who don't pay your bills. Most people live on appearances, enslaved by debt to feed eyes that don't matter. Whoever lives like this is a prisoner of themselves. Take Rockefeller, one of the world's first billionaires. As a young man, he received coins as tips and recorded every cent in a notebook. What seemed like obsession to many was actually a silent pact with responsibility. And that pact shaped a fortune that changed the world. Because wealth doesn't come from chance, it comes from habit. The habit of tracking, planning, reviewing, correcting. Every cent you ignore today is a small crack in your financial wall. Don't be naive. Small cracks bring down great walls. How many people earn a lot but live broke? Because they never learned to pay attention to the details. The Bible warns, it's the little foxes that ruin the vineyards. It's the daily coffee, the impulse buy, the credit card debt from parties to impress people who won't remember your name tomorrow. A solid financial life is built on simplicity. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference. Repeat. Repeat until it becomes second nature. And while many complain that it's too little, those who understand the principle multiply what they have. Look at the widow of Zarephath. A little oil, a handful of flour, a promise. She didn't wait to have more. She did what she could with what she had. And the miracle happened when she moved. It's always like that. Miracles don't visit those who sit idly by. Miracles chase those who do the possible, even when everything screams, it's useless. Want to change your destiny? Then embrace the principle of sacrifice. Cut to the bone if necessary. Sell what's unnecessary. Pay off debt. Clear your mind from the garbage of empty display. It's not about living like a miser. It's about living like a strategic warrior. Those who give up the superficial today will reap the extraordinary tomorrow. What you spend today just to impress could be generating income, interest, dividends, security. But most people prefer instant applause. Forget applause. Live for purpose, not approval. Jesus had nowhere to lay his head, yet carried a wealth no empire could buy. Because those who live with purpose are greater than any bank balance. And paradoxically, those who are greater than money attract more money. Because money understands who is the master and who is the servant. The same applies in the business world. Think of McDonald's, a hamburger stand that became an empire. Behind the sandwich was an invisible principle: scale, process, discipline. Ray Kroc wasn't just selling burgers. He was selling a replicable system, a mindset of abundance. He didn't invent meat. He didn't invent bread. He organized simple ideas into a profitable model. That's what many people lack. Not ideas, but structure, method, consistency. The Bible says, everything should be done decently and in order. There's no such thing as prosperous chaos. Where there is disorder, there is waste. Where there is order, there is multiplication. Look at your desk, your phone, your computer, your financial notes. Are they organized? If not, start there. Wealth requires a fertile environment. And a fertile environment is clean, clear, intentional. How many dreams rot because they're buried under piles of mental clutter, emotional debt, and habits that drain energy? Cut it now. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for New Year's. Don't wait for a raise. Transform today. Change one small habit. Track your expenses. Plan your week. Sell what you don't use. Study something new instead of spending hours scrolling through screens that don't pay your bills. Discipline creates silent miracles. While others depend on lucky breaks, those who plant discipline harvest stability. And stability is the foundation for great flights. A bird can only fly high when it has a secure nest. Your nest is your savings, your plan, your vision. Take care of it. Protect it. And if fear comes along the way, take a deep breath. Remember Joshua, be strong and courageous. It's not the absence of fear, it's the decision not to stop because of it. Courage is not a gift, it's a choice. It's doing it even with a knot in your stomach. It's taking risks, but calculated ones. It's investing in yourself before expecting the world to invest in you. It's knocking on doors even when they all seem locked, and knocking until one opens. Because one does open. It always opens for those who don't stop. That's how it was with Edison, Disney, Carnegie. That's how it was with Joseph, David, Nehemiah. That's how it is with those who choose to live by eternal principles. It is impossible to fail when you sow correctly and refuse to give up. When the door opens, be prepared. Because worse than having no opportunity is not being prepared when it arrives. Many cry out for a financial miracle, But if the miracle came today, they wouldn't know what to do with it. A lottery prize in the hands of an unprepared mind is a disguised curse. That's why so many people who suddenly gain fortunes end up in poverty within a few years, because they never built the capacity to retain, protect, and multiply. The Bible doesn't promise wealth without responsibility. On the contrary, it confronts laziness. The book of Proverbs is filled with warnings. The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the diligent are fully satisfied. Diligence is patience in action. It's consistency in routine. It's waking up early, planning, reviewing, not quitting. It's doing what no one else wants to do when no one is watching. Look at the secret of Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. A man who started by selling books from his garage, who chose to reinvest every cent rather than spend it. For years, he was called crazy. After all, who gives up immediate profits to build something that only existed in his mind? But he understood a principle he could have read in Ecclesiastes. Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again. What you send out returns. What you plant sprouts. What you sacrifice now blossoms later. But to blossom, you need roots. You need clarity. You need the courage to go hungry today so you can feed nations tomorrow. That's what happened with Joseph in Egypt. When abundance came, he didn't waste it. He stored it. He prepared. When the famine hit, he was ready. While other nations sank, he fed multitudes. The difference between hunger and prosperity is always preparation in the time of plenty. Ask yourself now, if abundance came tomorrow, would you be ready? Do you know where to invest, how to manage, who to trust? Or would everything slip through your fingers like water in open hands? Don't live adrift. Make a plan. The Bible says, "The plans of the diligent lead to abundance." A written plan, revised, adjusted. It's not about controlling everything. It's about knowing where every step, every coin, every minute of your day is going. Because time is the most valuable currency you possess. Lost money can be recovered. Wasted time never returns. And what we see most often are people rich in potential, but poor in discipline. Rich in ideas, but poor in execution. Rich in desire, but poor in commitment. Money is created in the invisible, but it lives in the tangible. Without action, it's all just smoke. Stop now, close your eyes, and ask, in what area am I rich, but living like I'm poor? Maybe you have knowledge, but you don't apply it. Maybe you have ideas, but you don't write them down. Maybe you have connections, but you don't nurture them. Maybe you have faith, but you don't obey. That's the hole where so much wealth drains. The lack of alignment between what people believe and what they do. Faith without works is dead, and action without direction is blind. That's why mindset must come first. Renew your mind. Replace scarcity thoughts with convictions of abundance. Declare what you want, write it down, visualize it, and then work as if it depends only on you. But believe as if it depends only on God. That's the balance that moves mountains. Look at the examples of those who turned the impossible into something real. Andrew Carnegie started by cleaning machines for pennies. Instead of complaining about his wages, he learned everything he could about how steel worked. Instead of envying his bosses, he made himself indispensable. Soon, he owned the factories, because those who honor the little will one day rule over much. This principle is so simple that many ignore it. They prefer a magic formula. But the only magic is discipline plus vision. It's planting today what others don't have the courage to plant. It's saying no to empty invitations, to useless spending, to relationships that drain your energy and finances. It's guarding your mind against the culture of waste that screams from every screen, every ad, every fleeting trend. Jesus warned, "No one builds a tower without first counting the cost." Yet how many start financial projects without calculating anything? They buy, they finance, they take on debt with no plan to repay. And then they blame God, the system, or luck. The problem isn't external. It's the lack of calculation, of realism, of humility to delay gratification. You don't need to be a genius to prosper. You need to be faithful. You need to be organized. You need to be vigilant, like a farmer walking through the field, inspecting each plant, pulling weeds before they take over. That's how you should treat your bank account, your budget, your investments. Look at everything like a garden. What blooms stays. What chokes must be pulled out without mercy. And have the courage to prune. Prune friendships that mock your progress. Prune habits that consume more than they generate. Prune excuses that have become part of your vocabulary. You are not a victim. You are a gardener. The soil is yours. The seed is yours. The care is yours. God sends the rain, but you are the one who plants. And when the harvest comes, be humble enough to remember who gave you strength to work, a mind to think, a body to act. Because pride is the final poison. Many start grateful and end up enslaved by their own ego. They think they are gods of themselves, and they lose everything because they forgot what Paul wrote. What do you have that you did not receive? Everything is alone. What you do with it is your testimony. And may your testimony not be just empty words. May it be a life that shouts without speaking. Here lives someone who understood the game. Here lives someone who governs, who plants, who multiplies. Because true prosperity isn't just what's shown. It's what remains in silence when no one is watching. And when no one is watching, that's when who you really are is revealed. It's in the quiet of your room, in the silent hours of the night with no audience, that you seal invisible covenants with your future. That's where the Bible whispers. Go into your room, close the door, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. What many don't understand is that this reward isn't magical, it's a reflection. Because those who discipline the invisible transform the visible. Do you want an unshakable financial life? Then win your battles when no one is clapping, when the alarm goes off before sunrise, when you feel like spending what you don't have, but you take a deep breath and remember your purpose. When the invitation to spend mindlessly is wrapped in laughter, but you say no because you'd rather invest in your dream than drown in someone else's emptiness. The great builders of wealth are guardians of their own minds. They understand that the greatest battlefield isn't the bank or the stock market. It's the space between their ears. That's where ruins or castles are built. That's where it's decided whether your salary becomes debt or seed. That's where you choose who rules, immediate desire or eternal purpose. Solomon wrote, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Translated to today, guard your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs. Protect yourself from the contamination of collective fear, from scarcity spread in headlines, from the envy that paralyzes. Those who rule within, rule without. And to rule within, be brutally honest with yourself. Stop telling stories to justify your stagnation. Stop blaming your past, your family, or bad luck. Every excuse is a stone you place in your own path, and no one removes it except you. While you keep pointing outward, you ignore the power you carry. That's what made Lincoln one of the greatest presidents in history. He lost election after election. He went bankrupt. He had a broken family. He was called a fool, a weakling, a dreamer. But inside him burned a flame no one could extinguish. While others mocked, he rose again. While others lost hope, he dug for solutions. And when the time came, he was ready to lead a divided nation. That's how true leadership works. First lead yourself, then lead the rest. Your financial life is simply a reflection of this personal leadership. There is no millionaire bank account in the hands of a poverty-minded person. There is no lasting inheritance in the hands of someone who squanders. You may even receive a fortune, but if you lack internal structure, it will slip away, just like water slips through open fingers. And here is another key the Bible teaches: covenant. Nothing great is built alone. You need to learn to walk with people who dream big, think large, live differently. Proverbs says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." A poor person who walks with lazy people becomes lazier. A wealthy-minded person who surrounds themselves with mediocrity poisons their dreams. Be careful who you sit with at the table. Be careful who you share your plans with. Not every friend understands your seeds. Not every family member understands your goals. Not every coworker can stand to see you rising. Sometimes, silence is protection. Sometimes, talking too much is losing power. Grow in silence. Work in the dark. Let your results shout what your words don't need to say. And while you plant in the dark, remain faithful to the principles. Tithing, generosity, planning, vision. All of these are shields. Not out of superstition, but alignment. Tithing is more than a percentage, it's discipline. It's the humility to recognize, I'm not the owner, I'm the steward. And those who care well for what they receive, receive more. Because God doesn't waste fertile soil. Generosity, then, is the oil that keeps the engine running. Those who cling too tightly clog the flow. Those who let go wisely release the river. It's not giving for the sake of giving. It's giving with direction. It's investing in causes, people, and projects that align with your purpose. It's knowing that the harvest comes back, but it often comes through hands you least expect. And while the world twists in crisis, you remain steady. Because those who build on the rock don't fear the storm. Those who plant in the soil of eternal principles don't fear passing plagues. That's how Joseph fed nations. That's how Nehemiah rebuilt the walls. That's how Abraham became the father of multitudes. And that's how you write your story today, 1 cent at a time, one decision at a time. The Bible is not just a book of pretty phrases to soothe the afflicted. It's a battle map for those brave enough to obey. It's a call to dig wells where others see dry land, to see abundance where others see only lack, to believe in harvest when others say the soil is dead. And the most amazing part? This map never gets old. Every generation that discovers it reinvents the impossible. From shepherds to industrial tycoons, everyone who applied these principles overcame a world that screamed, "It can't be done." Because faith is action, not speech. It's obedience, not negotiation. It's sacrifice, not magic. So today, once again, look around. Look at what seems impossible and ask yourself, what if I truly believed? What if I truly acted? What if I were faithful in little, disciplined in the details, generous in silence, courageous in the storm? The answer is within you. It always has been. What if everything you've heard so far was more than just words? What if it was a calling? A silent cry from heaven reminding you that you weren't born to merely survive. You were born to reign. You were designed to multiply, not to beg for emotional or financial scraps. You were called to be the head, not the tail. Light, not shadow. Abundance, not lack. Stop now. Feel this truth burning in your mind. See every debt being replaced by direction, every fear by courage, every excuse by decision. The impossible is not a sentence, it's an invitation. An invitation to those who understand what the Bible has always taught. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And that all things isn't for feeding the ego, it's for fulfilling purpose. You are not here by chance. You didn't come across these words by accident. There is something inside you that needs to wake up. An inner voice that must stop whispering and start roaring. A discipline that must stop making promises and start taking action. Enough with empty speeches. Enough with applause from those who don't live what they preach. Enough being a spectator of other people's victories. It's time to become the protagonist. Transform your mind before you try to multiply your bank balance. Protect your seeds before demanding harvests. Sow when everyone else is saving. Study while the world sleeps. Act while others complain. And remember, God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That's the rock you stand on now. And when tiredness comes, return to Nehemiah. I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Keep that verse on your forehead, on your desk, in your wallet. You are doing a great work. Your financial life, your freedom, your legacy. Don't stop for small voices. Don't stop for cheap criticism. Don't stop until every promise burns alive in your story. And now, if this message reached your mind, plant a seed here. Declare your commitment. Write in the comments a single word that sums up this calling. Unshakable. Write it, unshakable. Let the universe know. Let heaven hear it. Let your mind record it. From this moment on, you are unshakable. Rise up, reign, multiply, and never forget. As long as the word is your foundation, no storm will ever tear down what you build. If you're ready, write it now, unshakable. And may this seed multiply 1,000-fold in your life. You've already started. Now don't stop.